MRSA stands for methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. Normally it is identified by individual cocci, but can be seen in clusters. These cocci are normally measured at 0.5 to 0.7 nanometers. Once stained, it will appear as a gram-positive. Shown below is examples of cocci that are gram-stained under a microscope. This process begins once antibiotics are introduced into a body. These cells begin to develop a resistance to the drug, making it much harder to deal with. British scientists predominantly found MRSA in 1961. Previously, in the late 1800s, a similar type of bug was seen, but no name had been given at the time. In the United States, MRSA had popped up around 1968 and was given the term a superbug. Beginning as Staphylococcus aureus, MRSA is S. aureus that acquired a methicillin-resistant gene on a genetic element better known as the staphylococcal cassette chromosome mechanism. Generally, S. aureus contains many characteristics that help evade the host immune system. Defense is due to the production of microcapsules. These capsules are known as Zwitter ionic capsules, which induce abscess formation. S. aureus produces multiple enzymes. This is protease, lipase, and elastase. When it comes to the symptoms of MRSA, many cases MRSA can look similar to that of a spider bite, but MRSA does contain an interior infection. It has the ability to grow in multiple ways. It can form biofilms on surfaces, allowing it to persist by evading the host defense and antimicrobials. It can invade and survive inside that of epithelial host cells. Staphylococcus aureus begins to produce their special protein known as coagulase. When enough is produced, it results to fibrin clots that protects them from being attacked by our host cells. This makes it difficult for our bodies to fight against it, and it evades every type of attack that we could do against it. In a medical setting, one of the best ways to prevent MRSA is to stop cross-contamination. This is done through proper hand washing, done before entering the room and after leaving the room. Once dealing with a person who has MRSA, proper PPE is required. That consists of glove and gown, both which prevent it from being on your personal body. Awareness on MRSA is very important. Dealing with MRSA takes a lot of time and medication, some which MRSA is already resistant against. It lives in your body, so that doesn't help this prevention process whatsoever. If MRSA gets bad enough, it can result in sepsis, which could lead to death. We have a summary now by RN Patrick Ginn of Northeast Georgia Medical Center.
All right, so MRSA is a common strain of germ that we get in the hospital setting. It's also very common in the community now as well. MRSA stands for methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, and basically what that is it's a staph infection that has become resistant to what have been prior effective antibiotics, and it becomes more and more difficult for us to treat. Now we use vancomycin to help treat that, and it's really the only effective countermeasure to it. As we introduce more and more antibiotics to the world, the germs get smart and they develop an ability to not be affected by the antibiotics. And so that's what MRSA is, and it has become more and more common over the years, and it will continue to be more and more common.